Right, and we're still with our coverage to this important day that is taking place in Egypt, and this is the first phase of the election of the House of Representatives inside Egypt. It includes already 14 governorates: Giza, Fayoum, Asyut, Minya, Sohag, Al-Wadi, Al-Gadid, Luqsor, Qina, Aswan, Alexandria, El Bahira, Matruh, Beni Suef, and the Red Sea. And we are very much waiting for the results that will come out of this first phase in order to continue on with the second phase. I guess people are much aware of the importance of this important election, and I guess we have with us over the phone Dr. Ayoub, Mohammed Ayoub. Right. Before we go to Dr. Mahmoud, today the day started with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, who casted his own voice at the polling station in Giza Governorate, and a number of top government officials as well as high-profile figures and governors also casted the ballots. The Prime Minister inspected implementation of the prevention measures at the polling station amid the coronavirus pandemic, this global threat. I guess that one of the very important measures that were taken in all the polling stations across the governorate across Egypt were the disinfection of those polling station, measures taken in order to facilitate and assure the citizens that they can cast their voice at any time. Before we move on with our discussion of the day, let's first have a quick look on some of the headlines that took place during this week.
Egypt welcomed understandings reached between Sudan and the United States over launching a process to lift Sudan from an American list of terrorism-sponsoring states. A foreign ministry statement said that Cairo expressed hopes that such step would fold up years of isolation as well as political and economic hardship and would open a new horizon towards progress and prosperity. According to the statement, Egypt has confirmed that the move will help restore Sudan's active role in the Arab and African arenas. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry renewed Egypt's firm stance on Syria. The foreign minister made these remarks as he took part in a video conference meeting of the mini-group concerned with Syria. Egypt's top diplomat reiterated the necessity of hammering out a peaceful solution to the Syrian crisis. The Syrian state news agency Sana said that a prominent Syrian Muslim cleric in charge of the Damascus region was killed when a bomb planted in his car exploded outside the capital. Adnan al-Afyouni, the Sunni Muslim mufti for the Damascus province, was considered to be close to President Bashar al-Assad, who hails from the Alawite offshoot of Shiite Islam. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights War Monitor said that the cleric played a key role in reaching reconciliation deals with the rebel fighters on the capital's outskirts during the country's war. Three-time Lebanese Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri was renamed to the post to create a cabinet that can lift the country out of its worst economic crisis in decades. Al-Hariri, who is 50, made his comeback to take on the difficult task almost a year after stepping down under pressure from an unprecedented protest movement demanding a complete overhaul of Lebanon's political system. Immediately after President Michel Aoun named him, the returning premier vowed to form a cabinet of experts. He was set to start consulting the country's various parliamentary blocs from Friday. Planes carrying prisoners to be exchanged by Yemen's warring parties took off on the second day of an operation to return about 1,000 men home. Arab coalition, which supports the internationally recognized Yemeni government and Yemen's Houthi rebels, agreed last month in Switzerland to exchange 1,081 prisoners, including 15 Saudis, in the largest swap of its kind in the conflict. UN Yemen envoy Martin Griffiths told the Security Council overnight that both parties remain in negotiations for a permanent ceasefire, which he hoped could be agreed by the end of the year.
Right, back to our coverage. And diplomatic missions abroad continued receiving for the third day and final day the expanse ballots envelopes in coordination with the postal offices around the world to facilitate the voting process. To highlight the voting process, we have with us over the phone Dr. Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former Plenipotentiary Minister. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you so much. And we're speaking here about this is the second parliament or upper house that is being elected those days. We're speaking, this is the second time a parliament is being elected. How is this important? How is this important for the next stage of Egypt?
It is very important for every Egyptian woman and man to go to election booths to cast his vote. We need stability, we need prosperity, we need democracy, and we need investors from overseas. All the Egyptians who are eligible to vote, women and men. When I say women and men, I focus on the new generations and women. They should go and cast their votes. This is their own right. This is their duty, and after that they would reap the good results when they go to the election booths to cast their votes. Egypt needs stability. We already have stability since 2014, and we should proceed in the same direction, that is of parliamentary elections, parliamentary democracy, and the youth, new generations and women have a role to play. How will they play the role?
Before we move on,
they go and cast their votes.
Dr. Ayoub, before we move on to the role of youth, women, and all the segments of the society, let me take here, how do you view the importance of this parliament at this very critical stage?
It is a critical stage because Egypt is surrounded from every corner by threats from inside and from outside. So we should all stand at one front and one line in casting our votes and in saying we all support our regime in front of the other elements who are trying to destabilize the situation in Egypt. Democracy is very important for Egypt. Democracy is very important for any new investors, and democracy is very important for the stability of economy and political sphere in Egypt. This is very important for every one of us. If he goes and casts his votes, he has done his duty, and it is an obligation which we should be proud of doing and taking now in these couple of days.
Right. If I may ask you here about the election of such parliaments or such institutions, because those are big institutions and their importance for the democratic path, and how would that lead to a much stable economy, or in creating the conducive atmosphere for a much stable economy?
A couple of weeks ago, we had elections for the Shura Council or the Senate. Now we have it for the Parliament itself. The Parliament is very important tool for governing. That is, all the laws should pass by the Parliament before they are promulgated. So we are taking part in shaping the future of Egypt through casting our votes in this election. Elections are very important to stabilize the political and economic situation. When the overseas, whether investors or contributions or popularity are looking to Egypt, they are looking to the institutions which we have. We are creating a new atmosphere for democracy and for stability, whether political or economic or social in Egypt, by showing that we care for our country, we support our regime, and we go to the elections in numbers. When I say in numbers, all the members of the family who are eligible to cast their votes should go and vote and say and choose their candidates, choose their representatives in the parliament.
When we are speaking here about the representation inside the parliament itself, and Egypt has been putting in the forefront some of the important aspects. One of them is empowering women, empowering youth, empowering special segments in the society to be well represented in such a place. How far do you see the representation of those segments inside the parliament? How far do we need to emphasize their role inside this upper house?
When I speak about women, they are half of the community. They are half of the voters, almost half of the voters. If we add to them the new generation, that is the youth, so are speaking about almost 80% of the voters are from these two important segments. So these are the people or the person who will say their say, or they express their say. We need to have this or that deputy, the person to be our deputy in the parliament, to express our views and to have his eye wide open as for new laws and for new regulations, so that we proceed in the process which we began 2014, that is democracy, prosperity and stability for Egypt and for all Egyptians.
Now, as we are speaking, people are casting their own voices in the polling stations, in constituencies, in polling stations all across the 14 governorates in the first phase, followed with the second phase in few days after. From your point of view, what is requested from the Egyptian citizen?
First of all, they should know. It is a need to know. We need to know that we are shaping our future in these moments, in these couple of days. We are shaping our road, or you have a roadmap, clear roadmap promulgated just a few years ago. Now we should follow this roadmap to shape our future from economic and from political point of view. We need to go and cast our votes. Luckily, it is not all in the country at one stage, but more than one stage, two stages, so that every Egyptian is enabled to go and cast his vote. Even the Egyptians overseas, they are allowed to. They can cast their votes in the embassy. And now, at the end of the day, we'll see that the parliament will be the real representative of the people in front of all the other institutions, legal institutions, executive institutions, so that we can shape, we together, I say we together can shape our future in these moments by selecting or choosing the right candidate who will represent us in the parliament.
Yeah. Since you brought up the issue of we, then we means people inside the country and also abroad. And this is the third day that the diplomatic missions are continuing to receive the expats' ballots envelopes, and that is in coordination with the postal offices around the world. And definitely that is also in coordination with the embassies, with our embassies, consulates and all these offices outside. How do you view how Egypt is keen to facilitate the process for our people, our migrants who have immigrated, but they live abroad, but they are still, or they still belong to their homeland? How do you view how the country has facilitated the process for those people and is keen for their participation?
We look to the Egyptians overseas expatriates and those who are working overseas as a part and parcel of the democratic process in Egypt. They have a say in choosing the right partners, that is the right candidate, that the right deputy in the parliament who will represent them all, not only the Egyptians who are living in Egypt, but even also those who are living. Why they are important? Because they are would-be investors. They are our ambassadors to the overseas, and they strongly, and we have seen that several times, they strongly support the government's policies and the regulations as far as development, as far as investment, as far as showing that we care for the new generations by caring to our elections, which is right now, which we all enjoy and we all participate in, and we are willing to proceed in this process until we create a good environment for investors. I always focus on investors, whether Egyptians or Arabs or overseas, because we need investment, and investment will come when they find that there is political stability, and the parliament is a part and the most important part of the political stability in Egypt.
All right, Dr. Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former plenipotentiary minister, thank you so much for being with us and for your input. We move now to our next discussion, and before we move on, let's have a quick report and we'll come back for more discussion.
إن المهام المنوط بها البرلمان تحتم عليه أن يكون برلمانا حرا وممثلا حقيقيا لرغبات الشعب، وعليه أن يمارس هذه المهام في سياق